Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speaking of the Arts. This is the third episode in our Artists in Quarantine series, and today we are featuring the award-winning pianist and composer Emmet Cohen. The National Young Arts Foundation recently featured Emmet for his weekly live stream concert series he produces called Live from Emmet's Place. Emmet does this with his trio every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and you can tune in and watch via Emmet's Facebook page. In this episode, I talked to Emmet about his experience with live streaming and some of the unique challenges that can come up during the process. We also talk about Emmet's exclusive website membership and what you get when you sign up, as well as Emmet's upcoming debut release on Mack Avenue Records. I hope you find my conversation with Emmet as enjoyable as I did, and I think you're going to be really impressed by what he's up to. On a side note, I wanted to let everybody know I'm hosting a live webinar this Thursday, May 14th, 2020, with several presenters to have them discuss different scenarios they're exploring for presenting live music in a COVID-19 environment. My guests will include presenters and executive directors from the Savannah Music Festival, the University of Michigan, Winter Jazz Fest, the Dallas Symphony, the Marcus Performing Arts Center, City Winery, and the Monterey Jazz Festival, among others. If you would like to attend the webinar, you must register ahead of time. Please send an email to booking@epsteinco.com with webinar in the subject line, and we'll send you the link for registration. Thanks for listening, everyone, and now please enjoy my conversation with Emmet Cohen. Emmet, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today and for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Mike, it's my pleasure. It's good to talk to you, and I miss you.
I miss you too, man. I miss seeing you. Not that we get to see each other that often in person, but just knowing that I couldn't even if I wanted to makes it harder.
Yeah, and there's no reason for us to talk anymore either, unfortunately.
Right.
So this is a good excuse.
It really is, man. Well, yeah, it's so good to hear your voice, and I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you because for the last several weeks now, you've really, to the best extent possible, taken advantage of this, this unique opportunity, if you will, to do something different that you hadn't done before, and you've, as a result, developed some new capabilities that you didn't really have before. So I'd love to hear how this is going, specifically talking about the Live from Emmet show that you do every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, talk about how that's been going. How did you put that together? What have you learned about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned taking advantage of the situation, and I don't really like to think of, taking advantage of a terrible tragedy and horrific situation like this. But, I think it's more of just an adaptation, and a mutation. This is, what we do is we play music, and everyone who plays music plays for a different reason, and for their own, set of morals and own set of, experiences, whatever they are and were contributed to their concepts and their reasons for doing so. And, if you look at Billie Holiday or someone like that, she started singing out of necessity. She needed money so bad that she was a dancer and started singing one night, and the whole room fell silent. And that was the beginning of her singing career. So, a lot of times things that are necessary are born out of being backed into a corner or something like that. And, I think the first couple of days that this whole thing started, gigs started to get canceled, and the musicians and agents and everybody were, venues, everyone was getting really upset. And, it was this kind of feeling of like despair. And I remember it very clearly because everyone was going through it. And every time another gig got canceled, we would be upset. And then there was kind of this breaking point where we just expected everything to get canceled. And so, we know that that's the best thing and the only thing that can happen. And I think once we came to accept that, then it was like, okay, this is the new reality. Now what do we do? And one of the things that I think set the pace in a big way was Sullivan Fortner and Cecile McLaurin-Salvant. They did a concert on first, second, third day of quarantine, and it was a beautiful offering just from their house. And I loved it. A lot of people loved it. They just did such an amazing job of uniting the whole community. And I really loved just the fact that it united everyone, and everyone I knew was watching, and it was just this really amazing one-time thing. And it inspired us to do it. I'm here in Harlem with Russell Hall and Kyle Poole, and we've been quarantining together since the beginning, since we got off the road from Winnipeg on March 16th, and we've just been in it together. So we're fortunate to have each other. We're fortunate to have the music and each other in this time, and we thought we would give some concerts. So we did one concert, and it was well received, and we decided to make it a thing, and it's evolved every single week. We call it Live from Emmett's Place, and we do 7:30 p.m. New York time on Monday nights, and it's really helped a lot of people. A lot of people saying that they look forward to it all week. They have nothing else really, and it brightens their quarantine, or they miss live music, and it's great to see people improvise together. So I've gotten a range of comments and feedback on the whole thing, and it's just something that we love to do. I mentioned the reasons that we do it, the reasons that we play music. Russell, Kyle, and I, and kind of my own community. My whole community here in New York City is we love to play for people, and we love to uplift people, and we love to affect them in whatever way they need to be affected. So sometimes we play something and someone cries, there's a loved one. Sometimes we're doing something funny and people are entertained and laugh. Sometimes it's very serious and people are more in a pensive state. So the range of emotion that jazz allows for really is wonderful in that way, and we love to unite people with all those feelings.
Just so people are clear, I had the wrong time at the top of our conversation, and you just correctly pointed out it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. I accidentally said 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, and people can go to your Facebook page. Can they also access that through Instagram, or is there a preferred place they should go to for it?
Yeah, Facebook is the main place that we're pushing, but it's also supposed to be on YouTube and Instagram.
Okay.
That's those are some of the technical challenges that present themselves every day. I've been learning that whole side of everything, and it hasn't been a walk in the park. Technology is something that is something I haven't really dealt with through the music, through streaming, through online recording, through microphone techniques, through video and everything. So there's been a lot of skills that we've developed over the weeks as well.
Well, I think that's a testament to your desire to continue to play for people as best you can, having to figure these things out. And my sense is that once we get through this, whenever that will be, anybody who has tried to do what you're doing, which is to learn how to do these things sort of by necessity, I think you're going to be better off, because, I don't know, nobody really knows what the future is going to look like for live music. I think we can all assume it'll happen again for sure, but I also have this feeling that people might want the option for both. They might want to go see live music, but they also might want more options for seeing live streaming. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I would imagine all these things you're learning now are certainly going to help you wherever we're going to be in several months from now. And so I just commend you for figuring all this out, because I have not seen all artists doing that. I'm not sure what the alternative is, but you're definitely standing above the rest in the efforts that you're doing, and it's definitely going noticed for sure.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have offered suggestions and helped me out with it, and I've done a ton of research on which microphone to put on the piano and how to get the best sound and what kind of reverb we should put on it, and it's been kind of an interesting thing for me to learn about the ins and outs of recording, the ins and outs of video and streaming, about cross-posting and restreaming and all these little things that I never even knew existed. So I definitely think, when something like this happens and people learn, and I'm learning on my end, but a lot of the fans that, listen to me, a lot of the people that love the music, they're of a different generation. And I think it's been a learning curve on their end too, to try to figure out, okay, how can I download Zoom and see this concert and hang out? How can I get on Facebook if I'm not a member? How can I visit this YouTube link? And I think, everybody's in the same boat where they're learning this new landscape. So, it requires some kind of adaptation from everyone. And I think that, probably we will continue. There are a lot of people all over the world that, maybe we visit their city once a year, maybe we don't visit their city, and they would like to, interact with the music. They'd like to be a part of a concert. So I think, it'll exist forever now. But, that being said, there's no replacement for going to hear the live band playing, 2 feet from the drums at the Village Vanguard. It's like, there's some things that you cannot replace, but there's also a time and place for everything. And I think that streaming probably will live on and will improve. This is just the very, very beginning of the whole experience.
Can I ask you, what is it sort of like from your perspective on the new bandstand, if you will, doing these concerts versus a more traditional club or theater or whatever? I mean, obviously there's so many differences, but I'm just thinking about earlier when you said some of the reasons that you and your band like to perform, one of them being for people and to connect with people through music. How are you finding that to be now, given the new medium you're doing that with?
Well, it's just a different place. Jazz exists in a lot of different environments. It exists in a club where people are partying and people are going on dates, and the music is just the background. It's always existed in that it's existed. People are partying. It's existed in rent parties where people are trying to pay their rent. In the 1920s and 30s, there's prohibition going on and they're doing illegal things. The music has existed in concert halls where people sit and watch and take in the music. It exists in clubs where people are eating dinner. There's so many different places that the music exists, and I only named a few of them. But this is just another one now that we're adding to it. This is part of it. This is jazz has always developed with the times. And everyone always says it's going to die. It's going to, it's dying. It's going away. They've been saying that since it's not popular music anymore after the 1930s, and it's still here. It's still affecting the people that want it. And this is just another way of adapting for people that want to, consume the music. And I think that playing on camera is a little bit different. It's almost like doing a TV special or something where you're playing in a totally different way. There's no applause. There's no, that you can't look out in the audience and see how people are doing. You can't gauge the feeling, so it's just a different way of thinking about playing. And it's I'm definitely still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out the best flow. And, do I pick up the mic and speak to people and the music is being received in a different way as well. This music can be just as many ways as it can be offered. It can be received in just as many. So, people are cooking dinner to the music and not really watching the screen probably. Some people are sitting down and watching every little move and commenting on the feed and wondering what, interacting with other people. I talked to a couple of students who get on the Zoom call and they watch us together and talk about what we're doing, like they're going to the club themselves. So it's being received. Some people watch the feed later and skim through it and wait, look for the songs that they like. So there's so many different ways that people can interact with this medium. So I think that the best thing is to just play the music and let the music speak for itself, and that's something that I've learned over the past 6-7 weeks now.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned those points because I think a lot of people who are not musicians, the biggest adjustment for them, if they're fortunate enough to be healthy and haven't been affected by the virus, is one of the biggest changes, of course, is having to work from home, and so everybody is on Zoom all the time. And one thing you notice right away doing Zoom calls with people is that you're not aware of how much you relied on people's body language when you're with them in person until you can't be with them. So like staring at somebody's face on the screen, even though you're having a conversation, is very, very different than being in the room with them and having a conversation and having that body language sort of to feed off of. So
that's definitely true, but at the same time, if you're on a Zoom call, you get a lot more of the body language and the vibe than you do on a phone call. So it's just you just have to determine where you are and what maybe what's going on is better than something that could be going on. So there's something that's always better. There's something that's always worse. But I think that it's weird not looking out and seeing people's body languages. So we don't really know how it is. So sometimes I'll tune into the comment box and people are saying, "Oh, it sounds wonderful," or the bass is a little bit too low, or the drums are a little bit too high, and I'll just use that kind of feedback and try to interact in whatever ways we can.
Right, and that's exactly what I was wondering. Like, you don't have that interaction in the room, so how does it translate virtually? So I'm glad you gave the examples of people who are watching it, and some people it sounds like are extremely attentive and making lots of comments, and some people it's more in the background. Does it feel?
I think the point is like when you're at a club and like people are listening and eating dinner and like everyone's doing the same thing. So you can play to that. But here, you don't. Everyone's doing a different thing. The music means something different for everyone. So I think it's best after 7 weeks of doing it. I've realized it's probably best to just stop thinking about what people are doing and just create a musical offering, and it will be received how it will be received, because you can't do that thing where you try to be the perfect thing for every situation. You just have to do you. You have to do you, and doing you will ultimately, hopefully, be perfect enough.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you've done recently? For example, I've seen your trio with special guests. Like, I've seen your trio with Veronica Swift. I've seen your trio with who did I just see a singer with that was singing with you guys?
Cyril May.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. How does and again, just for people listening to our conversation, I'm referring again to these being virtual shows. So how does that work when you have a special singer with the trio and the singer is somewhere else? Because when I'm watching it, I have to say it seems very seamless. I mean, I'm not sure technically how difficult it might be, but it really does. It comes across pretty well, to be honest. What is it like on your end?
It's an acting job. The trio lays down the track beforehand, and we imagine accompanying the person and where they'll be in their room, and maybe say hi to them and maybe interact with them and give them space to say something back. When we record a track and we send it to them, and they'll do whatever they want with it and send it back. So that's
amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
Everyone thinks it's in real time, but it's not even close.
Wow.
We record a couple of different tunes for people and send them away. And Cyril did a great job. Benny Benack did a great job. Veronica was the first one, so we were still figuring it out. But it's still a cool thing. And Savannah Music Fest put that video together for me, and they inspired me to kind of like continue it and make it a series. So we've taken it and run.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would not have known, or at least not from watching the first time. That's really cool. Do you think, a lot of musicians too who are isolated are doing what you're describing, except for them, it's a lot of, I guess, I'm going to record my take, then this person's going to record their take, then that person, right, and then it has to all be edited together. But do you think because you get to be with your trio, with your bassist and drummer, where am I going with this? How have you guys grown in the last 7 weeks, having to do this each week?
Well, I think we've grown a tremendous amount together, but we're a family to begin with. I've known Russell for 10 years and Kyle for 9 years, and we've been on the road together. We've slept on couches. We've slept all in the same room on the road, just getting started. I mean, we've been through everything together. All kinds of different countries, all different kinds of gigs and opportunities, and so that's. This is just another phase we're in. We've grown together and been through a lot of different phases of our lives. Through people, through each of us dealing with personal issues, musical issues, issues in the community, and so this is just another thing. We all live one block from each other in Harlem, and so we're just doing. Just doing everything we can to just stay with the music and keep each other positive and stay well and cook together and just do whatever we do together. And I think it's all part of the music. Like, music very much mirrors life, and we try to just be positive and bring unity and project that through the live streams and through our posts and through our videos and through our artistic outputs. But we've been getting together for some rehearsals and trying to get to some new repertoire. And people pass away. We've been trying to do tributes here and there to different people. So we played a tune by Ellis Marsalis. We played something from Birth of the Cool to honor Lee Konitz. We've done a fair amount of things to honor those that we've lost to, and worked on some original music, and so it's business as usual, but there's not as many distractions going on in the world around us, besides the one obvious one that we try to tune out.
Sure. Yeah. What are you kind of hearing from some of your fellow musicians in general? How are they doing? How are people sort of coping with this as best they can?
Well, it's a time of connectivity. Reach out to different people. I've talked to the jazz masters. George Coleman's doing all right. It's a drag. Obviously, Houston Person said, us musicians, we're the luckiest ones out here. We have music to help us through, to deal with all this stuff. And I thought that was a powerful thing that he said. We really do have music. And I think musicians are just practicing. They're just working on their craft. They're writing. They're dealing with music. And any artist is probably going to be, first upset that there's no work, and then grateful. There's this duality that they suddenly have this time to work on things that they never got to do before, or compose music, or do a painting project at home, or there's just so much opportunity in the time that this allows to do the thing that you never thought you'd have time to do. And I think that the musicians who are aware of that are really taking advantage of it. Some people just I know are just taking time for themselves, and they're really focusing on meditation. They're really focusing on cooking, on just getting some of the other human aspects of their life together, and all that stuff feeds the music. I'm spending a lot of time doing yoga. I'm spending a lot of time reading. I'm spending a lot of time at the piano, and it's important to just find the balance in the new time. But I think it's generally not good for all the musicians to be out of work. But the thing I always have to tell myself is that the whole world is dealing with this. It's not just New York. It's not just the jazz community. It's not just America. It's every corner of the world. Life is shut down, and so it would be fairly selfish to be too upset at the halt in my own life when it's happening to 7 billion people. Pretty much. Yes,
yeah. It's one of the few things that historians are saying that's affected everybody on the planet at the same time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a staggering thought. Well, Emmet, listening to you talk about this, I mean, I think, you should give yourself some credit because there's such a big difference between reacting to something and responding to something. And everything you're describing, I'm hearing how well you are responding to the situation and how you are growing closer to your band and you're doing what you're doing and all this. It's a very different mindset than a reaction, which tends to be emotional. And, you know, at the top, you mentioned how we were all dealing with this when it first happened. I mean, I know me personally, I was very much reactive at first because of all these cancellations. It was very hard to do and deal with.
I think we all were. Yeah, I think we all
were. But you know, you go through that and then you say, okay, you know, I can't do anything about this, so what can I do? And then you kind of start to create a new routine and a new kind of way forward, really, because everybody lost this future that they were working towards. We all had this idea of our own future that was going to happen or we were going to make happen. And, you know, this is a time to kind of assess that and ask, okay, that might not happen now, but I can still work towards a new future. It might be a little different than what I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I'm lucky to have a lot of people all over the world that, you know, we've visited so many cities, especially in the United States, and I've really taken the time to connect with the people and say hello and learn people's names and, you know, just really like return and come back to those places and do something special for those people because they need it. And I think in this time, I've really seen the people that we've met in all those cities come back to us and offer support and offer encouragement and all that kind of stuff. And it's really paying back in that way. So I think, you know, just a reminder that the investment also in audiences and what you really want to do is special and important. And, you know, I think part of the success that we're seeing is due to the fact that we've taken on so many personal relationships with fans and people who react to our music, and we really appreciate those people. And I think they appreciate us in this time coming and trying to provide music for them, you know, each and every week.
Can I ask you a little bit about how you're approaching working with your or interacting with your fans from your subscription series, and more specifically, I'm not sure what you call it, the membership aspect of it. How does that work? If I was interested in being a part of that, where would I go? Can you just talk a little bit about that and how you've set that up these past several weeks?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think the something that I've always done is I try to write a mailing list every month and just communicate with the people that you know that come up to me and say, "Wow, your music was really special," or "Wow, I really enjoyed it. Where can I learn more information?" And so anyone that ever says that, I you know, direct them towards the mailing list, and it's kind of like this big family that I have of people who respond and you know, tell me what's been going on in their life, or tell me, you know, to visit a certain city, or tell me to check out a certain piece of music, or, you know, tell me that they liked what I did with the video, or I should try this next time instead, you know, critique it or whatever. And it's kind of like, you know, a forum for me to express myself and to have a blog and keep people posted on what it is I'm doing. And so that's you know, those people all reached out to me and said, you know, I want to support you through this time. How can I do that? And so I decided, you know, it would be really cool to take the 1,000 fan model that everyone always talks about. If you have 1,000 true fans, then you are probably going to be able to make a living. And you don't need to be famous. You don't need to, you know, to take over the world. You don't need to have a major record label. You don't need to tour 365 days a year. You just have to interact with those people. And I thought, you know, what better way? The whole world is kind of trending towards a subscription model anyway. If you think of Netflix, you think of Spotify, or you think of any number of subscription boxes. Even, you know, you get the delivery subscription in New York to Fresh Direct, which delivers your groceries. And then, you know, they don't charge you for this and that since you're a member. Amazon, Costco, you know, everything's based on membership. So I thought it would be cool to, you know, create a jazz membership and do something special for those people who really wanted to support. And this is the perfect time to create it. because I finally had the time to sit down and deal with it. So there are a few different levels of subscriptions, but basically everyone who subscribes, they get a vinyl copy of Dirty in Detroit, which is our latest trio record. And there's also a membership portal section of my website where you can log on there, and I have special things, concerts, and links and thoughts and bootlegs, and I put an EP in there from 2016 that I never released. So it's all my albums are available for digital download for the subscribers, and every time I come out with a new record, they automatically get it shipped to their house. So that's I thought it was a good way to just kind of cut out the whole process of ordering CDs on the website. Once I come out with a new one and marketing it, it's like everyone just gets a new CD when it comes out, and then we're in contact all the time, and there's some special things for the higher level contributors, like signed from sheet music and personalized songs and stuff like that. So I've spent a lot of time developing this, but I think that the people are into it, and they respond to the personal touch, and I think that's what I found that I really relate to the music by is that personal touch, and really interacting with a few people in my life, who love music and who want to support what it is I'm doing, what Russell's doing, what Kyle's doing, what Benny Benack is doing, what Joe Saylor, the Colbert Show, who plays with me every Wednesday night for the last 5 years at Smoke Jazz Club, my organ band, Brian Carter, Evan Sherman, Tivon Pennicott, Godwin Louis, Melissa Aldana. I have a wide range of musical collaborators in different facets of my life, and I think that this not only supports me, but supports all kinds of different projects and initiatives that we want to do with everyone, such as making videos with remote videos with like that you spoke about earlier with different people. And I think even while we were on the phone call, I got a text message from Wycliffe Gordon saying he just sent me his takes for the video that we recorded for him. And so, I try to get a diverse collection of musicians that I collaborate with, and a diverse collection of fans, old and young, and from all over the world. And so the subscriber thing has enabled me to do that, and enabled us to continue to put output in this time and in every time. So if anyone is interested, they can just go to my website, emmetcohen.com, and there's a tab that says exclusive, and it's called Emmet Cohen Exclusive. And there's also a membership portal in that site that you can get the password for if you sign up.
Emmett, somebody once told me that your confidence as an entrepreneur is largely dependent on you believing and actually knowing that you're giving more value than you're receiving. And I've always thought about that, and listening to you describe just the level of thought that you've put into what does somebody get if they're going to be an exclusive member of my world, right? I mean, it's very clear to me that you're walking down that path, and I know that's going to serve you well in the long run. I mean, just the amount of things that you're giving to people who are willing to support you clearly goes above and beyond a lot of things I've heard, and I know that's going to pay off for you. So I'm glad you took the time to kind of outline what this looks like. I don't think it's lost on anybody who's. Yeah.
It's also cool, like especially in this time. Everyone's like, oh, you should charge for concerts. Like everyone's doing this thing where they're charging, ticket price, and you can enter the room and you can see the concerts, and I see where that's coming from. But there's a lot of people in this time that don't have the money to pay for the concerts. They don't have, they lost their job and they don't know, when they're going to get off unemployment, and they just can't spend the extra money on a ticket price or something like that. So I think that, that the people that are also subscribing know that it's so that everyone can enjoy the thing, especially in this time. So we do, free concerts on Monday for anyone who wants to tune in. And then if people want to support, they can support. If they can't, then they can still enjoy the music. And I think that's an important thing that's sometimes been lost in jazz, is that, that, the ticket prices are high, the performing arts centers charge a lot, and, unless you do outreach in the given city, then it's harder for the people who sometimes really need the music to access it. And so that's one thing that also the subscribers, I think, understand that their contributions go towards.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Can I have you talk just a little bit about what's sort of on the horizon as far as your next album project? Who's it with? So people can look forward to that when it's ready and when it comes out.
Yeah, of course. I recorded it in January, my first date for Mac Ave, for the Mac Avenue label, and they wanted to do something that was a little bit different from what I had been doing. So the last couple of records I released were Masters Legacy albums, and that's a project that I have with the Jazz Masters and connecting them to the younger generation and showing that kind of intergenerational interaction. And so they wanted to do something completely different. So they said, what do you got? So I said, the concept is basically we're taking the knowledge that we've gotten from all the masters and then integrating that into a collaboration with people in our generation. And so the bass trio is Russell Hall and Kyle Poole, my normal working band. And then on top of that, on about half the record, we have Marquise Hill on trumpet and Melissa Aldana on saxophone. And we had done a collaboration with them in, I guess, last February, so just about over a year ago. And we went to St. Louis, and we did an education program there. We were all teaching, and we came together and we played the weekend at the Bistro. And there was something that just clicked about the group of spirits and the collection of musicians. And I said, I want to make my next record with this ensemble. And so I wrote some music specifically for them and have some other cool things on the record, and also play some trio. And so that'll be on the Mac Ave label. We haven't gotten too far in it yet, but I think we may call the album Future Stride. So you have to check back to see if that's the working title of May 2nd makes the cut for the September release. But that's an exciting project, and I'm so glad that we're able to start working with Mac Ave. And hopefully people will respond to this album because it's a little different than the stuff that we've done in the immediate past.
Yes, I think you're going to find that for sure. And while we're talking, is there a specific release date determined, or is it something that will come out in the fall, in September, TBD?
I think September 10th is the official release date. However, I think everything is TBD with in the COVID-19 era. So hopefully, hopefully it sticks to that date. But it'll be sometime in the fall for sure.
Great. Well, Emmet, this might be a good good spot for us to sort of wrap up here. And I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to talk to me about all these things.
It's my pleasure.
This is a great conversation. I want to reiterate for everybody listening, tune in Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, live from Emmet's Place. You can find more about that on Emmet's Facebook page. Please be sure to go to Emmet's website and sign up to be a member, and you'll get all of the things we just talked about.
Yeah, and if anyone just wants to check out, they can check out what we're doing. They can go to my website, emmetcohen.com, and there's a newsletter there that keeps everyone pretty up to date. So I hope everyone will say hello, and shout out also to all the promoters and presenters who continue to support the artists in this time. I know that there's a lot of venues and places going through a tough time, but artists really react to the places that have hired us to do individual live streams and different things for outreach to their community, and it does mean a lot, and it is important. So I want to thank everyone listening, and thank you, Mike.
My pleasure. Thanks again, Emmet. This was really great.